Dear all, this is the first video dedicated to the geography students. As you know very well, this year I have insisted on vocabulary. I have chosen several themes, and today I will focus on the hydrological cycle. You know very well that the global water cycle forms a continuum of water movement. A fundamental characteristic of the hydrological cycle is that it has no beginning and it has no end, and thus it can be studied by starting at any of the processes that make it up: precipitation, interception, transpiration, infiltration, percolation, runoff, storage, evaporation, and condensation. I have posted an image with all these processes on Facebook. Actually, I want to stress the fact that I have created a Facebook page for you, for the students in the Faculty of Geography, and I will be live from 9 o'clock every Thursday. I will not insist on the meaning of terms like precipitation, evaporation, or condensation because they are quite clear, and you can see that they are practically identical with the Romanian ones, which is to be expected since they are technical terms. I would like to start with the term of aquifer, which refers to a body of saturated porous rock. Thus, as a result of the process of infiltration, rainwater enters the permeable rock, which becomes saturated. Later on, an aquifer becomes an underground source of water. So I repeat, an aquifer is a body of saturated porous rock through which water can easily move. A confined aquifer sits below an unconfined aquifer, and there is a layer of nonporous rock that separates them. It is different from the water table, which is the top layer of the unconfined aquifer. This source of underground water results from processes of infiltration of water, or more precisely rainwater, from the surface of the ground into the ground. The movement further downwards is a process called percolation. I repeat, percolation. And it is the movement of water through the soil because of gravity and capillary forces. We will discuss other processes that make up this hydrological cycle, but I want to stop a moment and emphasize the meaning of this phrasal verb, which I suppose you know already, to make up, which has very many meanings. One of them is to constitute. The meaning I use here, the process that make up the water cycle, are those which I have mentioned before. I will repeat: precipitation, interception, transpiration, infiltration, percolation, runoff, storage, evaporation, and condensation. Other meanings of to make up are to compensate, namely to do something to make up for a mistake. For instance, I will write a nice essay to make up for the fact that I skipped classes last week. There is also this expression, I will make it up to you, namely, I'll do something nice for you to compensate for making a mistake. For instance, I'm sorry for being late. I will make it up to you. I will take you to a nice restaurant. Another meaning of to make up is to invent a story, or to invent a lie, or to make up a plan, to invent a plan. For instance, you do not need to make up an excuse for being late. You can only say you're sorry. Another meaning of to make up, which is very well known to you, is to apply makeup on your face. Another meaning is to be friendly with somebody, again, after an argument or disagreement. For instance, Tom and Bill quarreled 3 days ago, but it was an unimportant issue, so they made up after a couple of days. I will only mention another meaning of the verb to make up, of the phrasal verb to make up, namely to complete a number or an amount required. We can say, for instance, we need one more person to make up a complete football team. So, let's return to the processes involved in the water cycle. And I will choose another one, namely interception, which is the process of interrupting the movement of water by the vegetal cover. Water stops at the level of leaves or other plants. And this is quite interesting because it seems that the water that enters the plants is consumed by them. However, this is not the case, since plants also transpire. Transpiration is the biological process that occurs during the day, when water inside the plants is transferred from the plant to the atmosphere as water vapor through numerous individual leaf openings. Plants transpire to cool the leaves exposed to the sun. I will further on bring up the subject of water storage. There are three basic locations of water storage that occur in the planetary water cycle. Water is stored in the atmosphere, on the surface of the earth, and in the ground. To be more specific, storage occurs as surface storage in oceans, lakes, and other reservoirs, and also in the polar ice caps. Since the issue of ice has come up, I should add that another surface storage place is a glacier, which is an extremely large mass of ice which moves very slowly, often down a mountain valley. The underground water storage occurs in the soil, in aquifers, which I have already mentioned, as well as in the crevices of rock formation. A crevice is a long, narrow opening, and the synonyms are a crack or a fissure. And thirdly, there is water stored in the atmosphere as water vapors, and the most obvious formations are the clouds and also the fog, which we have talked about on several occasions, as it is a very common occurrence in Britain. Fog can be very thick when one can hardly see, or light when it is just a mist. But we can also mention haze, which is a phenomenon associated with reduced visibility as a result of the presence in the air of condensed water vapor, but also dust and other particles. For instance, a heat haze, also called heat shimmer, which refers to an inferior mirage experienced when viewing objects through a layer of heated air, for instance the appearance of water, fake water, on the road. It is the most common example of such a mirage, and please do not confuse the mirage with a hallucination, because in contrast to a hallucination, a mirage is a real optical phenomenon that can be captured on a camera, since light rays are actually refracted to form the false image at the observer's location. So we have a contrast between the hallucination and the mirage. I have used the phrasal verb bring up when I said I will further bring up the issue of water storage, and in this instance the particle up brings the added meaning of to appear. And there are other phrasal verbs whose meanings are changed following the same pattern. For instance, besides to bring up, which I have said means to introduce a new topic in the conversation or discussion, there is also to come up, which I have used when I said since the issue of ice has come up, and it means that a topic presents itself in conversation often unexpectedly. Like for instance, the issue of phrasal verbs came up while I was talking about the hydrological cycle. There are other phrasal verbs with the same particle and the same change in meaning. For instance, to look up, which means to look for certain information until it appears. I looked up a word in the dictionary. Or to show up or turn up, right, which means to arrive or appear somewhere. My friend showed up at my doorstep. Now, I hope that this presentation did not put you off watching more videos, because I would like to discuss other topics and to discuss more phrasal verbs, as I believe they are quite important. I won't end this video before I draw this phrasal verb to your attention, put off, which means, among other things, to make somebody lose interest in or enthusiasm for something. As I have said, I hope this presentation did not put you off our lessons. And another example, he was put off history by bad teaching. In other words, bad teaching put him off studying history. Bad teaching put him off the idea of studying history. However, this phrasal verb is most frequently used with the meaning to delay doing something. For instance, I was trying to put off telling her the news. Now, thank you for your patience. I will see you in a few days when I will go live on the Facebook I created for you. And we will talk about education while solving some exercises which I have already given to you. So goodbye for now, and work smart and hard.